ॐ जननीं शारदां देवीं रामकृष्णं जगद्गुरुं पादपद्मे तयो श्रित्वा प्रणमामि मुहुर्मुहुः। ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। हरिः ॐ। May Brahman protect us both. May Brahman bestow upon us both the fruit of knowledge. May we both obtain the energy to acquire knowledge. May what we both study reveal the truth. May we cherish no ill will toward each other. Om. Peace, peace, peace be unto all. We are studying the Brahma Upanishad in our last class. We have been studying the third mantra of this Brahma Upanishad. And where we have left off is where earlier the Rishi has been talking about two things. One is called Yagnopavita or the Sutra or sacred thread. Another is the Shikha, tuft of hair. These are two very important symbols of control over oneself and open to the highest reality. And every twice born, and according to Hinduism, Brahmanas, Kshatriyas and Vaishyas are supposed to go through this sacred thread ceremony, and thereafter they, as if they are reborn into the spiritual realm, and they have to keep these two. Always wear sacred thread. Under no circumstances should it be left out. And also the Shikha, tuft of hair. What is the idea behind this? They have to remind us. In our modern computer language, so there are softwares or yellow slips, reminders. Do this, do this, do this. So these are constant reminders. I should do what the sacred scripture ordains me, and I should assiduously avoid what is forbidden by the scriptures. And they are not like dictators trying to tell us what to do or not to do. The benefit in this case goes only to the dictators. It is in their selfish interest. But here the scripture is like more than like a loving mother. Again and again, it wants to uphold us, to help us, so that we can run into her lap. And once a baby is in the lap of the mother, feels absolutely safe, sound, mother efforts, protection, nourishment, love, everything. And our Divine Mother is none other than Brahma. This is what Sri Ramakrishna used to call my mother. So this is Yagnopavitam Paramam Pavitram Brahma Bhavamayam Sutram Dharayet Yaha Sa Chetanaha. Established in the state of the highest yoga, the wise person should put off the external thread. One who is really self-conscious must put on the thread constituted by the awareness of Brahman. That is, continual remembrance of God. And so, just as a person, when he is performing a special puja or yajna, that person wears a special ring made out of darbha or durva grass. The reason is, until I complete this ritual, I am not going to divert my mind here and there. But once it is complete, then he should discard it because the purpose is over. Similarly, wearing the sacred thread or keeping the tuft of hair are useful. How long? Only so long as they haven't realized God. Once God realization takes place, it is not necessary. In fact, Sri Ramakrishna used to say that these external symbols, insignia, they fall off themselves, like when a palm tree grows up, the lower branches automatically dry and fall off. So that is what the Upanishad is indicating, that once a person is well established so that he never forgets God or Brahman, then there is no need for them. Just as alarm clock is needed only so long we have not got up. Once we get up, suppose sometimes we get up before the alarm goes off, and then we carefully put off that alarm so that it should not disturb us in whatever we are doing. So also, when a person progresses by the grace of God long before, then he need not wear all these things. But so long as a person has not reached the goal, it is foolish to give up all these things. Because when we understand the inner symbolism, then we understand how valuable things our ancestors had bestowed upon us. So, yajnopavitam paramam pavitram. This is what is called the yajnopavita, sacred thread. It is the most purest of things in the world. Brahma bhava mayam sutram. This is nothing but manifest Brahman. And whenever he is wearing, that it is God who is manifesting through this body mind, it belongs to him, and nothing belongs to me. I belong to God. That is the knowledge which one should attain. And that is being said, we have discussed this one, and then he is also defining what is called sutra. Sutra means thread. I mentioned two meanings there, a pointer and that which pervades, like thread. Without thread, all the flowers or gems or anything, they will not be united. Or when we enter into a huge place, we require directions where to go, to the dining hall or to the meeting hall or to the prayer hall, etc. This is the definition given, dharanatasya sutrasya, and by wearing this sutra, sacred thread, a person should become sacred, pure. What happens to such a person? Na uchishtaha na ashuchir bhavet. Such a person has attained such a state that nothing can pollute him. In fact, everything makes him very pure. Uchishtaha, that which is used, touched, polluted by others, or anything, even by nature, feces, stools, urine, or rotten things, even if it is there, it cannot make a person impure. But we have to take it with a pinch of salt. Means physically, we should never do. There are some sects, they are called aghoris or sometimes kapalikas. They habitually live in crematoriums, and then they eat sometimes corpses, sometimes rotting meat, whatever they can get. So they do not observe these rules of purity, etc. But the body will not know what is called impurity. So if somebody contaminates, then a person is likely to take ill, to become ill, or to get some kind of infections. I don't know. Perhaps by living that kind of life, the person may even develop a great strength of immunity. There is no doubt about it that those who are living in the so-called third world countries, this is a coinage that is used by the Western countries. So those who are poor, those who are economically at a lower stage, they are called third world countries, and it became an insulting word. Later on they changed it, developing countries, undeveloped countries. We are all developed countries. And most often, the most horrible things, most impure things, so unimaginably cruel things like wars, etc., take place only in the so-called developed countries, not in the developing countries. Quarrels may be there, but this scale of destruction is impossible because they do not, for simple reason, they do not have access to these things. Once they have access, yes, they will do anything. So this is what is said here, that a person becomes spiritually so pure, mentally so pure, nothing can make him impure. Sri Ramakrishna's life, I am going to quote a few things. So usually when we have access to something which is so-called contaminating, impure, like seeing pornographic pictures, etc., and even animals copulating, Sri Ramakrishna once was returning from the side of the, after answering calls of nature, and he saw two dogs copulating. What type of picture does it arouse in children? Nothing. What type of children feelings come to a grown-up adult? Impure feelings. But what type of feelings Sri Ramakrishna had? Look at this. He says, I saw Shiva and Shakti sporting with each other. That was the picture that came, the very same sight as created, because his mind is pure. A pure mind sees everything pure. An impure mind sees everything impure only. It is a beautiful story. Once, it is not in Mahabharata, somewhere somebody created, but it is a beautiful story. Yudhishthira and Duryodhana, they went on a world tour, and after completing, they came back. There was a public meeting in reception of them, and both were asked to narrate. Duryodhana got up and he said, with a disgusted face, I had nothing but very tragic experiences, shocking experiences, negative experiences. Nobody is good. I saw everybody is a devil. I have nothing to say. Such was my experience. He sat down. Then it was the turn of Yudhishthira. He got up and said, how can I describe? Everybody was, as they say, was falling head over heels to help me. Wherever I went, people were vying with each other, competing with each other. Who can host me? Who can feed me? Who can make my life a little more comfortable? They were competing with each other for the privilege. I cannot describe how good the world is. So this is the story that is told, because Duryodhana's eyes see nothing but wickedness, selfishness. The whole world appears to be like that. But the same world, in the eyes of Yudhishthira, is nothing but pure Brahman. Once Sri Ramakrishna was returning from Calcutta to Dakshineswar, he saw a public woman, but what we call public woman, but what he saw was pure Sita, who is compared as what is called Murti Bhavi. That is purity personified. We also sing Pavitram Jivanam Yasyaha, Pavitram Jivanam Tatha, Pavitrata Swarupinyai, Tasyai Kurmo Namo Namaha. With regard to Holy Mother, she was purity herself. So Sri Ramakrishna had attained to that state where he sees nothing but God. What about a murder? So that is also God sporting only. It is worth remembering. Sri Ramakrishna once saw a grasshopper, a small insect, with a stick protruding out of its backside. And he said, at first I felt very painful. It's because it is suffering so much. Then I entered into a higher state. I saw, oh Rama, you have become the grasshopper, you have become the stick, you have become the person who stuck this small stick in the backside of the... So you are everything. You created your own problem, which accords absolutely well with our study of Mandukya Upanishad. Whatever we imagine, whatever multiplicity we create in our dreams is only springing from one. When we wake up, we say, I was myself, my neighbors were also myself, my friends, my enemies, everybody was none other than my own self. So that is expressed in this beautiful thing. But how did Sri Ramakrishna attain to that state? Of course, he attained to that state even much before. But while he was practicing tantric disciplines, Bhairavi Brahmani, she used to collect so many materials. she made him go through the most important 64 types of rituals, because tantras are many, not 64. But she culled what is most important and made Sri Ramakrishna go through most of them. So she once brought rotting human flesh and asked him to taste. He said, at first I felt very abhorrent, as we all do. But then Bhairavi Brahmana said, what is there, my child? Everything is a manifestation of the Divine Mother. Look, I am taking. And then she tasted a little. Remember what I said earlier, should not be taken like we eat sweets, etc. This is meant only to make the idea that both everything pure and impure is the manifestation of the divine only. There is no doubt about it. So, this Sri Ramakrishna said, at first I couldn't take, then I felt the spirit of Chandi possessing me, and then I did not feel any hesitation. I have taken it as prasada. And then once she cooked fish in a human skull and asked him to taste it. You know, we all shudder when we think of such things. And then finally, she brought a woman, asked him to sit in her lap and perform japa. At first, Sri Ramakrishna felt frightened, but he prayed to the Divine Mother. Then he sat down because the ritual has to be completed. Then she saw he was sitting in the lap of his own mother, Divine Mother. And he entered into Samadhi. And then Bhairavi Brahmani certified, my son, most sadhakas fall down here, but by the mother's grace you have succeeded completely. And with that his tantric practices were over. And one day in the public hall, that which is in front of the Mother Kali's temple at Dakshineshwar, not called Natamandir, or dancing hall, a beautiful woman was brought, and in the public, Sri Ramakrishna worshipped her as Divine Mother, and then he offered 1 rupee as his dakshina, like we give to God, and then with that the tantric practices were over. So Sri Ramakrishna had to go through these things to say that there is nothing else excepting God everywhere, what we call pure and impure. But if we look from another point of view, we see that what we call impure is the very reason for our existence. For example, if we want to grow some crops, then we have to add fertilizer. And what is fertilizer? Or what is called organic fertilizer? It is nothing but cow dung or the droppings of birds or even bats or anything. What is not absorbed by the animals becomes fertilizer, and that fertilizer transforms itself into the most nourishing elements. So what we cannot digest becomes nourishing element for some other stomachs, and what becomes indigestible for them becomes suitable material for us. Even I still just now remembered the world's most expensive coffee seed is that which is eaten by a bird and then comes out as feces, and they wash it and it acquires a special flavor there, and that is the most expensive. So we eat so many things which are rotten, there is no doubt about it. Anyway, what is the point here we are talking? That nothing can pollute a person mentally or spiritually, and when only these people become what is called spiritually wearing the sacred thread. That means they have become sacred. Another name for God is purity, sacredness, and they become one with God. So that sacredness will be there. So this is about Yajnopavita. Now Rishi turns his attention to what is this tuft of hair. It is called Shikha. Gnana Shikhino, Gnana Nishthaha, Gnana Yajnopavitinaha. So he concludes there, they among men know the sutram, they really wear the sacrificial thread, who are devoted to Gnana, who have this Gnana for their sacred hair tuft, this Gnana for their sacred thread. Te vai sutra vido loke te cha yagnopavitinaha Jnanasikno Jnananishtaha Jnanayagnopavitinah. What is the essence? That the real wearers of the sacred thread are those who keep the tuft of hair, are those they who have acquired that knowledge. What is that knowledge? Atma Jnanam. I am divine. And they have become firmly established. Jnana Shikina, Jnana Nishthaha, Jnana Yagnopavita. So only in their case, Yagnopavita, both Yagnopavita and tuft of hair are symbolic of pure knowledge, self-knowledge, Brahma knowledge, Jiva, Brahma, Aikya, Gnanam. So this is what, again, the Rishi is moving. Gnanam eva param tesham, pavitram gnanam uttamam, agneriva shikha na anya, yasya gnanamayi shikha, sa shikhi iti uchyate vidvan, itare keshadharinaha. So the Rishi takes a little bit of poking at the ignorant people. Itarehi means those upper caste people, after being invested with the sacred thread, they go on wearing externally the sacred thread and also keep a tuft of hair on their heads. They are called merely wearing because nothing, no change has come in. We are not, or the Rishi is not condemning these people. In fact, he says it is a condition for spiritual progress. But what he is telling is, let these people never forget the ultimate goal of wearing a sutra is to become like sutra, all pervading. Wearing or keeping the tuft of hair is only to indicate my mind must always reach Sahasrara Chakra. That is why it is on the head. So this is what being expressed in this, again, third part of the third mantra. Jnanam eva param tesham, pavitram jnanam uttamam, agneriva shikha na anya, yasya jnanamayi shikha, sa shikhi iti uchyate vidvan itare keshadharinaha. For them, Jnana is the greatest purifier. Jnana, that is the best as such. Those who have this Jnana for their tufted hair are as non-different from it as it is fire from its flame. So this wise one is really said to be a shikhi, a wearer of the tufted hair, while others are mere growers of hair on the head. So the word pavitra means purifying agent. In every scripture practically, the best purifying agent. What does it mean? Means if we come across any impure object, it could be physical, it could be impure thought, etc., the best antidote, not only to remove the impurity, but to transform it into the highest pure something, that is knowledge. So knowledge, there is no greater purifier than knowledge. So this is what Bhagavad Gita also, which is of course the essence of the Upanishads, reiterates, Nahi Gnanena Sadrusham Pavitram Evidyate. Iha means on this earth. Gnanena Sadrusham, equivalent to Gnanam. What type of Gnanam? Pavitram, that which makes everything pure. So it doesn't exist. That means real knowledge. What is the real knowledge? Everything is God. That is the real knowledge. You can call it everything is God, everybody is Jesus, everybody is Buddha. Each soul is a potential Buddha. So each soul is potentially divine. So only when a person attains that knowledge, what is that knowledge? Sarvam Kalvidam Brahma. Everything is Brahman only. So what is that impure thing? That is also Brahman. So recollect, one of the most meaningful episodes in the life of Totapuri or in the life of Sri Ramakrishna, this Totapuri belonged to this Naga Sampradaya. Naga is the word which means naked, nagna. So they don't wear a cloth, not because they want to exhibit their bodies, because they want to become immune to the inclement weather. That is why they are given a long training, first on hard seats, very soft seats. After that, gradually the seat is made to be harder and harder, and then the seat itself is removed. What is called asana is removed, cushion is removed, and they were made to sit on the ground floor. Their own legs become the best seat, Padmasana, etc., or Sukhasana, whatever it is, and all inside the protected rooms. After that, they are asked to go outside, and slowly their bodies are made to be able to bear, just as in the what is called spring season, very pleasant season. These people, let it be very cold, let it be very hot, it doesn't affect. There was a Swami in Varanasi, his name was Swami Bhaskarananda, and he used to live always on the Ganges, completely naked. And then, whether it is winter, whether it is summer, doesn't matter. I heard of another great Paramahamsa who used to lie down in the burning streets outside. It is maybe 40 degrees hot midday, or it may be raining, or in winter it may be freezing. At all times, he will just lie down on the road, and slowly some people will bring some food and he will accept whatever is needed. So there are people who want to, who would not like to be slaves to this inclement weather, and by creating this kind of training, they slowly become. But this is all external. But the real this thing is that with knowledge only. So this Totapuri was supposed to have entered into Nirvikalpa Samadhi, but these Naga sannyasins, they cherish. Always they have a fire lit. In those days, firewood is available everywhere because forests were there, jungles were there, very easy to get. And this also protects them, and they can cook also something, or they can keep a little bit warm in winter season, because Totapuri also used to sleep under the Panchavati, under the banyan tree. And at midnight he will get up and stroke the fire and then sit and absorbed in meditation. He was such a great soul. That is why the Divine Mother had brought. But then he had that discrimination. This dhuna is very, very sacred, whereas ordinary fire is not sacred. And the Divine Mother, in the form of Sri Ramakrishna, wanted to teach him a lesson. One day, when Totapuri was in a eloquent, waxing mood of teaching, then a servant came to take fire, and he took the fire, and he was about to go. Then only Totapuri noticed, and he was overcome with terrific anger, wanted to beat the temple servant. Then Sri Ramakrishna was witnessing this, and he fell down on the earth and started laughing uproariously. And Totapuri could not understand. Why are you laughing so much? He said, a very beautiful Bengali word, Tor Brahmagyanar Daud Kototuku Dekchi. Now my point is that when you have attained to that Nirvikalpa, means the slightest shade of difference one doesn't see. Ekam eva dvitiyam. Everything is one. Then why do you make this sacred dhuni, sacred fire? Fire itself is always sacred. Nothing can pollute it. Whatever is poured into the fire, it makes that object also fire itself. The highest purity will be there. So he could not see it. Then he understood. There is a power which can give us the highest knowledge and which can also throw us down from that highest knowledge. Kare dao ma brahmapado, kare koro ma adhogami. So we have to remember these incidents, that there is nothing purer than the knowledge. What is that knowledge? There is no second. If there is a second, who is superior, who is inferior, who is pure, who is impure, who is big, who is small, all these differentiations are bound to crop up. But here there is no such thing at all. And so this Rishi is eulogizing in this third mantra those who have attained to that knowledge. Tesham, for such jnanis, jnanam eva param. They have attained to that highest knowledge. And what type of knowledge? Pavitram jnanam uttamam. That is the most wonderful knowledge. It is the best of knowledge. And it is pavitram. and it makes us see God only everywhere. You can't see impure God or pure God. Agnereva Shikha na Anya. And what is the Shikha they have got? That is tuft of hair. It is like blazing fire. Yasya Gnanamayi Shikha. Again, what does this tuft of hair symbolize? Only pure knowledge. And such a person is called Vidwan, a true knower of Brahman, highest reality. Sasikhi ityuchate. He alone deserves the title Sikhi. What about the others? Yes, if they are careful, then slowly they will have to progress towards this state of knowledge. What is the knowledge? Accepting God, there is nothing else. That is the idea. So if one forgets it is, here they are only growers of hair, but they are not progressing in spiritual life. What is the lesson from this mantra? So whether we are initiated from our Guru, whether we are invested with the sacred thread, we have to remember the purpose of all this is to grow in true knowledge. What is that knowledge? I belong to God. God belongs to me. And there is no difference between God and me. This has been beautifully explained by Sri Ramakrishna. He cites the example of Hanuman. So what is your relationship with God? That means what is your knowledge towards God? And then he says he did not say that. We have to understand there are 3 stages of spiritual progress. When I think that I am separate from God, that is what is called identity with the body and mind. Then, Deha Buddhyatu Dasoham. I have to assume the attitude of servant, but servant and the master, there is a tremendous relationship is there. So nowadays when we talk about servants, whether it is men servants or maid servants or whatever it is, that loving relationship which used to exist, it has almost come to an end. So what is meant here is that it is a most loving relationship. This is my master and I will not serve anybody. And the master also says, this is my servant. He is like my child. I will protect him. I will nourish him. And I will look after him. This is the relationship. This should be the relationship so long as we are thinking we are body, mind, that means we are separate from God. Then when we enter it, Jiva Buddhya Tadam Shakaha. When I consider myself a part of you, Jiva means I am having identity with body, mind, at the same time, I am also a part of you. So, half body, mind, and half I am the consciousness. Jivatma, far superior, much more advanced than those who are completely identified with the body and mind. Tadam Shakaha. So, I consider myself as a part of you, an infinitesimal part of you. This is called Visishta Advaita. Earlier, they are called Dvaita. Everything is different from everything else. Here, everything is united in God, different and yet not different. Unity in diversity. But there must come a time, if we continue our spiritual practice, Atma Buddhya Tvamevaham, that when I attain to that state, I am the Atman. Tvamevaham, I am you, you are me. There is no doubt about it. So Madhusudana Saraswati, a great Advaitin in the 15th century, he had written Gudartha Deepika, that is secret notes on Bhagavad Gita with deep meaning, Gudha Artha. And there he concludes saying, there are 3 stages of spiritual progress. First stage is, I belong to you. When he progresses, you belong to me. And when he progresses, there is no difference between you and me. And that is what is indicating of what is called Dvaita, Visishta Dvaita, as well as Advaita. That is being said here. That is the meaning of what we discussed it. But after hearing all this, we might have a wrong notion. Since the Upanishad is telling that wearing sacred thread, keeping up a tuft of hair are not really useful. They can be dispensed with. That would be the greatest, what is called danger that comes. That is why Sri Ramakrishna used to say, Don't give up actions. As you progress, actions themselves will give you up. That is the most natural thing. This is what is a caution in the further mantra. Karmani adhikrita yetu vaidike brahmanadaya tai sandharyamidam sutram kriyangam tad hi vai smrutam. But those belonging to the three castes, Brahmanas, Kshatriyas and Vaishyas, these are called upper castes, who have the right of performing Vedic works, that is, follow Karma Kanda, they must put on a sacred thread as well as a tuft of hair, as surely as this thread is ordained to be part of such works. In fact, our Vedas prescribe that without a person, even though he may belong to the three upper castes, if he is not invested in sacred thread ceremony, then he is not fit to perform these. Not only that, they go even further and say a person who is not married, who is not having a wife, so Dharma Patni is not there, and they are also unable. Remember Ramayana, Rama wanted to perform a great sacrifice, and he himself had banished Sita. So he was constrained to create a golden Sita and keep her by his side, and as if she is alive, then only he was able to do it. So those who are privileged to be born in these higher castes, and while they are authorized to perform these Vedic karma kanda, such as puja, etc., such people should never throw out the sacred thread, etc. Then who can throw out? When can they throw out? No, one should not throw out, but they fall off them. That is called the state of sannyasa. And sannyasa is not an external state, it is a mental maturity. A person is steadily progressing in knowledge. Progress in knowledge is called progress in life. That is why there are so many discussions about, are we progressing? A great historian, Will Durant, along with his wife, Ariel Durant, has written 11 huge tomes. Tomes means big books, the story of civilization. And then he says that if a man from, let us say, 5,000 years back, a child from 5,000 years back, if he is brought into this 22nd century, and then he doesn't find it very strange. What changed? Earlier he had to do hunting, etc. He had to save himself from all these wild animals, tigers and hyenas, wolves, saber-toothed tigers, mammoths, etc., etc. Now he has to, what is called online hackers, pickpockets, and these people who go on cheating hundreds of lakhs of rupees from gullible people. And most of the time, these so-called computer experts, IT people, they are the most gullible people in the world. So how they are milked online. And then there are people who are intense competition to get privilege, even if it be a temporary privilege. And it has become a terribly competitive society. And any time this competition is not going to come to a stop, because previously it was a matter, the wars were for survival. Now also the wars are there for survival only. So one reason why wars are there is for survival. Another reason why wars are there is insatiable greed. People want to become more and more and more possessive of money, property, etc., but they are not conquered. I sometimes feel like laughing when I hear that first thing, a news came some time back, these multi-billionaires, they are buying frantically underground, what is called buildings. So that is, they think it is a safe house. There are going to be nuclear wars and life will be exterminated, but these people will be protected. These underground bunkers, very strong bunkers. That is not a new idea. Hitler used to have a bunker, and whenever there is a air siren warning, then there are bunkers created in every city. People have to run there, giving up, leaving everything, whatever they are doing. That is one. Then there is a scientists are also toying with the idea of bringing back the same person by the regeneration of DNA. So after 50 years or 100 years, this fellow's body will be recreated, regenerated. And that was what our old Ayurveda. So even an old man can be made a young person through certain processes, etc. This is there. I want to live long time. Of course, there is nothing wrong with that idea. What is wrong is, if you are so much worried now, out of 24 hours excepting in deep sleep, you are worrying most of the time. Your restlessness of the mind is called worrying. Then if your longevity is prolonged, what are you going to do with those things? That is the idea. Anyway, just by the way I spoke about these things, so long as a person has not progressed truly, and progress is always in knowledge, and progress in knowledge always indicates self-knowledge. Who am I? Once I know who I am, then I will know who everybody else is. That is to say, if I know I am a human being, and even if I keep that knowledge in mind, so just as a pinprick pains me, so the same pinprick also can pain even an insect, even an animal, any human, not to speak of any human being. And that is very important. But if I think I am the Jivatma, everybody is looked in the same light, because our judgmental values always follow about our concept of ourselves. If I think I am body, everybody is a body. If I think I am the mind, everybody is a mind. If I think I am a jiva, everybody is a jiva. If I think I am divine, everybody becomes divine. This is the knowledge towards which, whether you call it baptism or the Muslim young men are supposed to go through certain rituals, the Jewish children are supposed to go through certain rituals. In Buddhism, so first of all, Buddham Sharanam Gacchami, then Dharmam Sharanam Gacchami, then Sangham Sharanam Gacchami. The same idea, I have to obtain self-knowledge. I must become Buddha. Then only my buddhi becomes enlightened. So until I reach that state, I require all these, or any, in England there is a saying, every little helps. So this Ignopavita can help, a tuft of hair Shikha can help, and taking bath can help, and 3 Sandhya, 3 times, remembering God, especially Gayatri can help, everything can help. So this is the caution. Karmani adhikruta etu. Those who are authorized to perform this karma kanda specially, though that means the 4th caste, what is called Shudra. And again, I am cautioning, it is not by birth, it is by qualification, guna and karma. So until the Shudra reaches higher stage, these rituals will make no meaning for him. Not that he is barred, he doesn't want even those things. But those who are supposed to progress, they should be highly aware that everything helps, and especially that which reminds us that you have to do exercises, you have to do this, you have to do that. That reminders, Ignopavita and Shikha is a reminder. If I forget, others will remind me. And that brings me the idea, Shiva Bhaktas put 3 lines across, crosswise, on the forehead, and the Vishnu Bhaktas, Vaishnavas, they put it vertically, horizontally and vertically. What is the meaning of it? That I cannot see what is I have put on my own forehead, but when I see the other one, oh, he is a Vaishnava, and he accepts Vishnu or Shiva, and therefore I should never forget Shiva or Vishnu. Similarly, that person also will remember. That is why 2 monks, when they meet, they have to greet each other. Om Namo Narayanaya. Or Drishti Safai. Is your vision clear? That is the idea. So those belonging to the so-called higher castes, 3 castes, Brahmana, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, and they have been authorized to perform these Vedic rituals, they should surely wear this one. After hearing this Upanishad, oh, it is all inner matter. There is no need to wear outside. No. That is why Sri Ramakrishna's beautiful saying that don't give up karmas. When the time comes, karmas will give you up. That is, as we grow, whatever is not necessary, they drop off by them. There is somebody who is going to look after us. And there is a Vedic injunction also, Tasmat Yagnopaviti eva adhiyeta yajayet yajetava. So only those who are entitled, who have been invested with sacred thread, adhiyeta, they only should study under Gurukula, or yajayet, or they must help other people perform rituals, or swayam yajetava. They themselves, if they are doing it themselves, they alone are authorized. So they should not give up Yagnopavita and Shikha. Let them fall off. When a person grows, that is the caution. Shikha gnanamayi yasya upavitancha tanmayam brahmanyam sakalam tasya iti brahma vido viduhu. And this idea is enforced with this beautiful mantra. Very beautiful. One who has the gnana for his tufted hair. So this person's knowledge, what knowledge? That I belong to God, I am God, etc. And the same for his sacred thread. The sacred thread also, I belong to God. That's why it is called second birth. First birth is biological, second birth is spiritual. And such a person has everything about him characterized by Brahmanhood. That means his behavior, his speech, his thinking, and in the beginning he has to do it with tremendous effort, but in the end it comes out spontaneously. What is acquired with difficulty, with practice, becomes so very natural when he becomes firmly established in that knowledge that I am divine. So know the knowers of the Vedas. So those who know the Vedas, that means those who know the Brahman. Here is a beautiful word. So Veda is also called Brahma. Another name for Veda is Brahma. That is why those who go to Gurukula to study Vedas, they are called Brahmacharis. They have nothing to do with Brahmacharya. Here it means those who are completely absorbed, focused, concentrated on acquiring the true knowledge of the Vedas. First, of course, by what we call how to pronounce Siksha. Then comes various upasanas. And then finally comes Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma. Then with that knowledge, one has to analyze the 3 states of every jiva's experience. Jagrat, Swapna, Sushupti. The waking, the dream, and the dreamless state. And then slowly progress in spiritual life. That is being eulogized here. Shikha Gnanamayi Yasya. For a person whose Shikha, there is no external tuft of hair. Such a person, having Gnanam, is like having a tuft of hair. Having Gnanam is having like the sacred thread, Upavitancha. And the beautiful word, Tanmayam. The person who has become completely absorbed in God is called Tanmayam. That is, he never knows anything excepting God. Brahmanyam Sakalam Tasya. Everything about him, as it were, it is coming out, unstoppable expression of Brahmanya. So it is said when Kshudiram, the father of Sri Ramakrishna, used to walk in the streets, everybody spontaneously gets up because they understand this is called Brahmanya, true Brahmana. Who is a true Brahmana? Brahma Janati iti Brahmana. He who realized Brahman, that is, I am Brahman, he is a true Brahmana. There is a beautiful anecdote. After first Buddha had mixed with 5 sadhakas, spiritual practitioners, and then very soon he found out what they were practicing, extreme asceticism, is not going to take a person anywhere. So he broke his fast by taking some milk offered by one very spiritual lady called Sujata. and seeing that this person has become a little broken, his hardest, what is called extremities, the 5 people have left and they reached Sarnath here near Varanasi. And then after some time, Buddha, Siddhartha had become Buddha. Then he said, the most fit persons to receive my gnanam is these co-sadhakas. So he came to this place, Sarnath, and they saw from a distance. They decided not to respect him, not to rise. But when he came near, spontaneously, they had to get up. That is called Brahmanya. And that everything about such persons, he exudes, as it were, that purity, that sacredness. Iti Brahma Vido Viduhu. This is the knowledge of the Brahma Vidas. We will continue in our next class. Om Jananim Sharadam Devim Ramakrishnam Jagadgurum Padapadme Tayo Sritva Pranamami Muhurmuhu. May Ramakrishna, Holy Mother and Swami Vivekananda bless us all with bhakti. Jai Ramakrishna.